This video tutorial has two parts. In the first video, we'll define academic integrity and how it's viewed in the broader world of education and learning, and also why it's important. In the second video, we'll talk specifically about plagiarism, what it means at Macomb, and what you can do to make sure that all of your papers are squeaky clean from any questions about accidental or intentional plagiarism.
Whether you're a new student at Macomb or you've been here before, you have joined a rich and active community of scholars, entrepreneurs, engineers, professors, philosophers, and fellow students. You're now a member of a community of thinkers. Part of your job as you begin to learn and pursue your degree or certificate at Macomb is that you'll have to learn to identify and perform the expectations in your discipline, to not only learn, but also create and contribute to the knowledge here at the college. And as you move forward, you'll become a guardian of that knowledge, of careful thought process that you learn throughout your education, and of overseeing the ethical application of that knowledge in your profession and in your personal life. Let's start by defining academic integrity. Academic integrity, according to Penn State's Department of Education Policy Studies, is the pursuit of scholarly activity in an open, honest, and responsible manner. But it might be helpful to think for just a minute about what that definition means to other people, and also what that definition means for you as a student. So let's unpack it a little further. What does it mean to pursue scholarly activity? And what does Penn State mean when they use the terms open, honest, and responsible manner? Let's see. The pursuit of scholarly activity. Well, scholarly activity is really any activity contributing to ways of thinking. So pursuit of scholarly activity is seeking new ways of understanding the world. This includes contributions to thinking in science, literature, social studies, business, and really any discipline or profession you can imagine. It includes contributions to how we understand these disciplines and how we create these disciplines. Therefore, it includes writing new novels and also coming up with new theories to understand why people vote the way they do or how genes work. Pursuit of scholarly activity also includes seeking new ways of working in the world, and that includes new models and approaches. These approaches can be in manufacturing, medicine, and even workflow. Let's dig into that definition of academic integrity a little bit further. What does it mean to pursue scholarly activity in an open manner? Well, simply put, open means sharing and collaborating with other people who are pursuing the same kind of knowledge. With academic integrity, sharing and collaborating means sharing ideas, sharing effort, sharing resources. It also means sharing methods and processes, telling somebody else how you got where you got, and telling them what you were thinking along the way. Finally, sharing and collaborating means collaborating in order to expand and improve knowledge. Here's a pretty famous example of openly scholarly pursuit. The picture on your screen right now is a picture of Gregor Mendel. He was a farmer in the 19th century. He started noticing some interesting differences between one pea plant and another pea plant. He decided to write down his observations. He also hypothesized that the peas became different depending on what codes they received from their parent plants. Many years later, the work by Mendel and others eventually led scientists to identify and understand the shape and function of DNA. Watson and Crick won the Nobel Prize in Medicine in 1962, but certainly those scientists were influenced and helped along by many other scientists who were not specifically named at that time. In turn, new scientists working on DNA have worked on projects such as the Human Genome Project. If you want to know more about this project, try clicking on this link a little bit later. So in our example, we have the monk Gregor Mendel identifying something unusual in his garden. He recorded his findings, and that allowed other scientists over the next 100 years to identify and describe what DNA is and how it works. You've probably heard something about the coding of the human genome, but here's an image of the team that worked on the first coding of the human genome. In fact, most knowledge happens through a large team of people working all together or working over a long period of time to understand something a little bit better. Okay, going back to our definition then. Open, honest, and responsible manner. What does it mean to be honest in academic integrity? Well, mostly it means being truthful and reflective. We can be truthful and reflective when we're careful about our thinking and self-critical about our own conclusions. That means we always want to leave open the possibility that even though we're making one argument or one claim, it may be disproved by someone else, and that's also a valuable contribution. We need to acknowledge the limitations of our own process and our own thinking. If I do an interview with 10 people and not 100 people, I can't necessarily say that the other 90 people are thinking and saying the same thing. Similarly, my own experiences may lead me to see the world one way, and that may be very different from how someone else who has had very different experiences sees the world. Part of being honest, truthful, and reflective is making sure that I acknowledge my own worldview. One way to ensure that you're being honest is to describe to your audience your thinking process and the influence on that process. In science, this happens naturally through the scientific method because you have to describe your methods. But in other fields, it's not always easy to spot where writers are acknowledging their own methods. Often, this occurs in the introduction section or in a couple of paragraphs following the introduction where writers describe what their process is and what their path will be for explaining it to you. Finally, being honest means evaluating sources and discoveries fairly and according to the expectations of your discipline. So what does that mean? This is probably the hardest part of academic integrity. Being honest with your sources means you need to give a fair chance to someone you disagree with to convince you otherwise. It also means looking at their methods and seeing how they fairly got to the conclusions they got to. And finally, it means knowing what the expectations are in your discipline. Is it okay to use one method over another in the field that you're in? And if you're not sure, you can ask your professors in different courses what the expectations in that field are. I'm sure they'll be happy to answer that question for you. In fact, that's what they're there for. When thinking about academic integrity, we have a lot of examples to turn to in the world. The problem is when people behave unfairly or dishonestly, even if they do it by accident, the results can be devastating.
Here are a couple of examples of accidental and/or intentional dishonesty in both politics and science from the headlines in the last year.
Attentive viewers last night listening to Melania Trump's big speech might have noticed a striking similarity to another high-profile potential First Lady speech from back in 2008. You're going to recognize this one. Let's watch.
We're raised with so many of the same values.
My parents impressed on me the values.
You work hard for what you want in life.
You work hard for what you want in life.
$14 million in federal grant money flowed to support the research. Then a shock. The excitement, the possible AIDS vaccine, the results in those rabbits. It was all a fraud. This man, Iowa State University researcher, Assistant Professor Dong Pyo-han, had made up the results, contaminating the infected rabbit blood with healthy human blood.
Finally, the third part of the definition for academic integrity asks people to be responsible with the manner in which they pursue scholarly activity. Responsible means mostly knowing the rules of the road. Probably when you first started driving, merging onto the freeway seemed pretty scary. At least it did for me. But then, after you did it a number of times, it became easier. You learned to better read the speed and distance of other cars. You were able to judge who was going to move into which lane, who might let you in, who was going too slow, and whether you needed to speed up or slow down to safely merge into traffic. And now, you probably do it without a second thought. With practice, academic integrity will feel the exact same way. Here are some of the rules of the road to help you as you move forward. Being responsible in the way that you pursue scholarly activity is knowing and following the expectations of your field. Number 2, document how you did your work. Really, if everything else goes wrong, if you can show people how you got to the ideas that you got to and why you came to think the way you do, you're probably going to do okay. Also, acknowledge the resources that made your work possible. You can think about your paper as a mini Academy Award speech that you give to the many scientists, philosophers, researchers, and business people that you read or encountered along the way that helped make that paper possible. By acknowledging those resources and those people and ideas, you're actually explaining how you're a part of the same community that they are in. And finally, you want to consider the ethics of your work. Are the ideas that you are having, the ideas that you're sharing, the ideas that you're writing and distributing, how do those ideas affect the people around you? In other words, is the knowledge that you're creating fair, truthful, and ethical to others? Therefore, in scientific experiments, it's appropriate that participants be informed about the experiment, what the experiment is for, how it will happen, and if there's any risks associated with the experiment. Someone conducting an experiment must gain permission. We call this consent from anybody participating. This permission is not limited to medical experiments. You need to also ask permission if you interview someone, if you invite someone to conduct a survey, or if you get data in any other way, including taking snapshots of people on the street. Being responsible means sharing the benefits of your findings. If you discover something while you're writing a paper, maybe you learn something new about a book you're reading, or maybe you understand something better about how voters behave. It's part of your responsibility as a member of a knowledge community to share that information with other people. That can be through your coursework, through talking with your friends, through publication, or even just telling your family members at home about the exploration you went on and the knowledge that you created. At this point in the video tutorial, you might be asking, well, if the consequences are so bad, if violating the expectations of academic integrity can lead me to get kicked out of school, go to prison, be publicly embarrassed, or harm large groups of people who are affected by dishonest and irresponsible practices, why would anybody break the rules in the first place? Well, that's sort of a difficult question. In most cases, people break the rules because they don't know the expectations. Maybe they've heard the term plagiarism, or maybe they have an idea about what it means to cite, but they don't always know what material needs to be cited and which material doesn't have to be cited. In addition, many people are facing pressures on their school and work time from outside, such as family, money, deadlines. In the case of the scientist in Iowa who falsified the data on his HIV study and went to prison, he was receiving a large sum of money to conduct that research. The research was funded by the National Institute of Health, and his career as a professor and scientist depended on being able to publish that research. So when the study was going poorly, he felt a lot of pressure to falsify some of that information. The other most common reason why people might violate the expectations for academic integrity simply has to do with fear. Fear that your own ideas are not good enough or that they're not valued by your audience. Maybe as a writer you're worried that your professor is going to disagree with you, or maybe you're worried that this idea seems so new to you but it might not seem new to somebody else. It's important as you embark on this part of your life as a college student, as a member of a community of thinkers and researchers and question askers, as part of the college community, that you take on the authority of asking questions and posing ideas that are yours. You are now not just learning, but also creating knowledge for the whole community. If you have questions about that, if your ideas are good enough, if they can be valued by your audience, those are also good questions to take to your professors, because like I said earlier, that's why they're here, and in fact, they love helping you learn.
Thank you for watching our video tutorial. Please return to our Canvas site for the second video in this series and for other videos to help you as you pursue your educational goals. These videos include tutorials on citation, on writing papers, and on creating presentations. If you'd like to make an appointment to work with a consultant at the Reading and Writing Studio, please visit us at either campus location or contact us via the information listed here. Again, my name is Brett Griffiths. I'm the director of the Reading and Writing Studios, and I look forward to meeting with you soon.